Hi, I'm Sarah Calgill, along with Andrew Moran, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and John Clark. And this is the Conservative Five, an online TV news production of Liberty Nation News. October 1st will be the first real chance America gets to see and hear from the two running mates in election 2024, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, a side-by-side glance of two starkly different ideologies and backstories. With a myriad of topics to discuss, military background, professional degrees, polar opposite thinking, this debate might shed more light than the Harris-Trump contest. Help us out here, John Clark. What do you think will be the strengths for both Walz and Vance?
Well, I'm not sure what strengths Mr. Walz has. I really haven't watched him speak as much as far as a speaker. J.D. Vance seems to be quite impressive from some coverage I've seen, but I think this might be an interesting microcosm of broader issues from Americans right now. Are they voting for a person or are they voting for policies? Because if you started to compare their relative strengths on policies, and once again, looking at the idea of the independent voters, polls are showing that Walz is turning off a lot of Democrats who do not see him as strong in handling issues like the border, handling issues like inflation. He doesn't really have a strong track record in that way. He's a teacher, he's a bureaucrat. He doesn't really represent the working class ideas that Kamala Harris is trying to espouse. And he doesn't seem like he is as good of a choice as uh, Josh Shapiro would have been, especially beyond Pennsylvania, because the nation is looking at our future leadership and saying, which of these two people would we like to represent us in a particular circumstance? And it becomes inescapable for him to evade his policy record, which is very far left, 100% EV cars by 2040, abortion laws, social justice laws, shut down the police, free college for everybody. These are economic issues. So regardless of what the candidates themselves portray themselves as far as strong or weak, in which case I think J.D. Vance looks a little bit stronger to the extent that counts, a lot of independent voters are going to be looking at that itself as a reflection of how strong they will be on policies when they're number two, behind two candidates, one of whom is elderly. Donald Trump. Just if you look at actuarial tables, we may have our vice president become our president. And in Kamala Harris's case, similarly, we may end up with a Walz presidency. So I think people are looking at them as very important number twos. And hopefully, I think for all of our sake, and whatever side of the aisle you're on, that they will look at policies. And in that department, I think Walz has a lot more vulnerabilities and weaknesses than Josh Shapiro would have had for this Democratic Party.
Well, and you brought this up, so I'm going to run with it with Graham. Um, in reality, do the VP candidates really impact who votes for president? Let's look at the past, Graham. I mean, got Bush in.
I would say, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have different opinions on this, and it would be interesting to see if anyone's really looked in depth to see if there was any kind of correlations you could make between VP picks and the success or lack thereof of any previous presidential ticket. I would imagine that mostly the VP pick is not making a lot of difference. People are not voting for vice presidents; they're voting for presidents. And yes, okay, you often look, well, the vice president may be the guy or the woman who is up next, on the ticket in 4 years' time or in 8 years' time, depending on who's in. But I think by and large they don't. However, look at the two candidates we've got, the two presidential candidates. You've got Donald Trump, you've got Kamala Harris. I think possibly a lot of Democrats are chewing their nails right now, thinking about Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate, and they're probably less than impressed. So maybe some of them are thinking to themselves, okay, I need to know more about this Tim Walz character, because let's face it, I think outside of certain states, Tim Walz is not that well known. So I think people will be maybe tuning into this vice presidential debate thinking, I need to know more about Tim Walz. I already know about Kamala Harris, and I know that she basically is very thin on substance, let's say. But what's this Walz character like? Maybe he will give me more hope. And then on the other side, I think there are people who probably are going to vote for Trump, but maybe they're doing it holding their nose because they just don't like the guy. And so they may be looking at Vance, and especially because, Trump is in this position where, even if he wins, he's already served a term. If he wins, there is no running for re-election for him. So in that case, JD Vance is quite possibly the guy who's going to be running for president in 2028. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting debate. I would say that, yeah, Walz is, I kind of agree with John. Walz is, I don't think he's a very likable character. And he has actually done about faces on certain issues. And then, of course, everyone remembers that, Minneapolis burned to the ground on his watch kind of thing. And he pretty much cheered on the protesters almost. It is funny that he is actually trying to appeal to the average, like, working class guy now, the working Joe, where he did this video the other day where he was supposedly working on his truck and he was under the hood. And it was so silly because you saw him, he removed what obviously was a brand new air filter and then he put it back. And that was supposed to be him working on his
He's
truck.
a working class kind of guy.
It was just embarrassing, really. So he's trying to make himself out to be something he isn't.
Well, Andrew, does that is the press reporting any of his, what we might claim as weaknesses in the press, as the press in the press? I mean, Graham just pointed that out. So is the press running cover, or what are they doing here?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Well, running cover for the Harris-Walz administration, absolutely. Running cover for the Trump-Vance administration, absolutely not. And you know what? But when it comes to JD Vance on that debate stage, his biggest weakness will be a Trump, of course, because the debate moderators will continually pivot to J6, to the previous election, to the long list of court trials. And JD Vance is going to have to somehow balance, the positions he supports with, stuff that Trump has done. And that's another thing, too, with JD Vance, is that he's going to have to fend off not one candidate. He's going to have to fend off against three different people, the debate moderators and his opponent, Walz. He's going to have to do live fact checking because the debate moderators are not going to do that. So if Walz starts talking about, inflation was already hitting 9% in January 2021, JD Vance kind of point out these numbers. And it's going to be hard to do, of course, in a live debate setting. I'll say that he needs a Lloyd Benson moment. I don't know if anyone remembers from 88's VP debate, Lloyd Benson and Dan Quayle. And then Dan Quayle says, oh, he's like Jack Kennedy. And then Lloyd Benson says, I will say that I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you know Jack Kennedy. And everyone went crazy. And then he's gonna Vance needs something like that to stand out.
Well, okay, I get that. But here's what I also wonder, and we're gonna call on Dave for this one. ABC was filleted by media for how they handled things and what they did and all the cover they were running and just everything. That just a really poor moderation of a very serious debate. CBS going to pull that same kind of stunt, or do you think they're going, oh, well, let's not do that and be in the news as the news?
My sense is that CBS will be more careful about how it's perceived. The CBS moderators are going to attempt to be objective inquisitors. And that will be hard because, they're no more nonpartisan than any of the conventional network media. With the debate moderated by CBS's managing editor, Nora O'Donnell, and Face the Nation's host, Margaret Brennan, you know that the questions are going to be focused on women's issues, and they're going to be all over Senator Vance on the abortion issue. And so he needs to be able to give a quick answer, bring the subject back to grocery store and gasoline pump answers. And, the real question is, will J.D. Vance run his own debate? You know, give a nod to answering the specific question, but come back with a statement of fact that puts Walz's radical positions in the spotlight. And in a fair debate, you wouldn't want to do this necessarily, but what we've seen from the lefty media, Vance should keep the moderators on the defensive, I think. You know, don't answer Walz's questions. He's not the moderator. Give the answers that Vance wants the voters to know about the Trump Vance ticket and make it assertive, make it compelling. And again, this idea of it's very easy to fall into the trap of trying to answer the details of the moderator's questions, especially the ones they didn't ask.
But JD
Right.
Vance, I've seen him in front of the press, and he like Ron DeSantis, he's quick on his feet and he's combative with the mainstream media. And like John, I've seen him in the Senate hearings, and he's good in the scripted environment. So whether he can maintain that momentum in front of the debate monitors, it should be fun to see.
I agree with you, Andrew. His repartee with Dana Bash was particularly impressive.
Yeah, I think Trump said after his debate, he actually said that his one or his biggest regret about that debate was that he did not kind of push back on the moderators for how they treated him. And he really should have. And I think that was a mistake on his part that he did not. I don't see that happening with Vance. If they do pull an ABC, and I kind of agree with you, Dave, that I don't think CBS is going to do that so much. They're going to try to at least kind of make it look as if they're being more fair, objective, impartial, if you like. I don't know how successful they'll be at that, because you know that these people just can't help themselves. But I think they're going to give it a college try, as they say. But if they do just decide to go after Vance and keep kind of fact checking him and leave Walz to say whatever he wants, I could see Vance actually directly confronting the moderators about that and going after them. And I think he should.
I don't see Vance as even, trying to embellish anything. I think he will just stay on the mark. Go, Andrew. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say how, Trump did a horrible job in the debate, not pushing back, like Graham just said. I mean, just that the dog eating question itself, and the debate moderator said, oh, we reached out to the city manager, and Trump could have said, what, that's it? That's all you did? You reached out to some bureaucrat? Oh, that's the definitive answer you need now, as opposed to speaking with the local Springfielders.
ABC News did reach out to the city manager there.
Yeah, that's right. As if any city manager is going to say, oh, yes, oh, yeah, there are people eating dogs, there are people eating domesticated cats in my town. Yeah,
or they're going to answer the phone at 11 o'clock at night when these people are fact checking. I mean,
Sarah, I do think there is one question that that Vance does need to spend some time thinking about, and that is, excuse me, but you said that you would allow Russia to keep all the land that it has acquired in its unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. Do you stick by that? That's going to be a tough one.
Oh, but Trump.
That's a good one.
Hey, when Graham says the old college try, these people didn't go to the old college. They went to the new college. And so everything is tainted with an ideology. And I think the half of the debate will be made, perhaps, as you suggest, about abortion, which I think just shows them to be tone deaf. Again, they should spend more time pretending to be mechanics with brand new air filters. And the other half of the debate, they're going to try to frame to be about Donald Trump. And I think a lot of Americans, and I'm hearing anecdotally, a lot of Democrats are starting to see through this. And the ABC debacle with whistleblowers now pointing out that they actually colluded with the Harris campaign. Yeah, I think CBS might want to walk on be very careful how it presents itself, because that makes people start to, I think a lot of Americans, they don't like foul play. The Democrats may not care, and maybe some on the right don't care, but I think a lot of people in the middle are going, wait a minute, that was foul play. Why? And start looking underneath, at the policies. And so again, I think also that's why this could be more impactful than traditionally VP debates are, because I think
agree.
it's going to get at those policy issues.
Well, I'm gonna let that be sort of the last word, but I'm gonna also have the last word. And as CBS likes to say, the more you know. So tune in and make your own determination as to who brings the best opportunities for America. Thanks for watching. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Now, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for Free Thinking, Free Speech, LibertyNation.com.